truth into the pitch of fire until you see Come on, you know we're gonna break through.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC Finals. We've done the old swap on the analyst desk. I'm Stress, joined by Darkbreaker, Carmeline, and Ryu to take us through Group A action as we step into our main stage now of the WREC Finals. First games of the day we've seen between Unicorns of Love and Formulation. DB, what's your first read on the meta now? We've had 2 games so far.
I think we still don't know yet what's gonna come, because there is just one match and there's still so much to come. The meta changed thanks to the new patch, and teams came up with a lot of different drafts, and I'm sure RixGG is gonna surprise us. And they also have now C7, who didn't play LAN before, and it's his first time in the Wild Rift as a LAN player, so gonna be exciting to see how he's gonna perform, and hopefully he's not gonna be too nervous.
Yeah, we're gonna be taking a step into the Group A matchups in just a few minutes' time. Before we get there, of course, I think it's kind of good just to retread over some of the meta that we saw in the previous 2 games. Carmeline, we saw the NASRs come through from Unicorns of Love. I know you're a big Unicorns of Love fan. It didn't quite perform as well. Do you think that's the end of NASRs for this weekend?
Shall I say yes? Well, the polite way of saying this is probably not. But there's one champion that has been nerfed and still appeared during the series, which is Fiora. Many people took Fiora for like dead. She's not gonna appear ever again. But there she goes, there she is. Let's see if she can appear again.
Well, Ryu is resident support on the desk. Thoughts? I mean, Rakan's going to be high priority as always. Anybody else that you're looking forward to seeing? That Karma, if it gets through, right?
I mean, Karma, I don't even think will get through a single time. This champion is broken as, well, we'll see later if it's going to get showcased over there. But I think, I think Rakan is obviously going to be one of the most interesting picks because it can make so many plays. But yeah, we'll see.
Ryu giving the spoilers on what's to come. Speaking of broken, those of you that joined us throughout the rest of the split know we've had a segment. We've now got all these giant video walls. We're in a studio. It only means it's time to head over to Hell's Devils for Broken as Hells.
A very important champion right here. You know, we all know Rakan is good. We all know the Galio is good. But I want to talk about the Yuumi because, oh my god, Yuumi got a massive buff. And as we look into Broken as Hells, Yuumi is just such a strong champion in this current update. And she even got buffed. That's the beauty. She already could have gone into Broken as Hells, but she's even stronger now. And as we can see in some of these replays, Yuumi Olaf is the big thing. Yuumi Olaf, Yuumi Jax, we talked about it during the draft previously. You have to pick or ban it. You just cannot leave this open. As you can see, Yuumi is the cat that's going to be attached to your head. And she's going to be buffing you massively. And even Acolyte here on the ground, you can see Yuumi can attach to anyone and just do so much damage. And she won't die. That's the problem here we can see as well. Yuumi on the Garen, it really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, Yuumi on the NASR didn't work last time though, but here, look at this. I mean, it's half of the work is Yuumi, and she's not even doing any work. And that's the beauty of the champion. She's sitting on someone, clicking on abilities, and yeah, that is it for Broken as Hells, guys. Back to the analyst desk.
Used to be like a Rammstein concert or like a 90s Flames shirt, like the Hawaiian side. That's me showing my age anyway, though. Let's get into our first series from Group A. Group A is the all-important group for European teams, I would say. Of course, we have 2 of the biggest teams from Europe in RixGG and Team Queso in this group alongside NASR. I think this is a very difficult group to get out of if you're NASR. Both teams have looked so strong out of Europe and DB. You know, as we're getting closer, first of all, let's check out our teams in Group A with a video of our 3 teams.
training it in the mirror, but
The format is very lethal. If you just mess up, 1 or 2 series, you're going home. So I think I'm not focusing too much on who I had to play at the end and who I'm looking forward to. It's just taking each match as it comes and making sure we do our best every time.
It's getting so excited because you see the people who gonna play with them before and the face-to-face. I don't know how can I explain my feelings. So such a dream for me.
I've never played on a LAN event before, or any big stage for that matter, only from the comfort of my own sofa. So it's going to be a bit different, and I want to prove that me and my support are the best bot lane in Europe.
You have this shared language of passion for this game, even if maybe you don't all speak English, you can still appreciate that you're all kind of on the same path and putting all this hard work into being the best at something. And I think that's really cool to be able to relate to a whole bunch of different people with.
Her şey için teşekkür ederiz. Bizi desteklemeye devam edin. Elimizden gelenin en iyisini yapacağız.
Have some water, my mouth is like super dry.
All right, so Joey's just concerned about staying hydrated. I baited you a little bit, DB. What makes RixGG such a strong team? They won the last chance qualifiers. Why do you think that they come in as a favorite?
I think RixGG is just so amazing because they have such a deep champion pool that every one of them can play 10 champions. Like, who do you want to ban out? Like, random plays, weak side champions, he plays strong side champions, then you have C7 as well, who can play hyper carry champions, which are actually meta right now and hot picks. He can also, if he needs to go on those tanky utility team fight based champions, so that's pretty cool. And obviously Snitch, one of the most consistent mid laners with an insane champion pool. He's maybe gonna pull out some few secret picks here and there.
We'll
and obviously
see.
in the bot lane you have Doom and Crew, who are super consistent, and Doom getting pentakits left and right with the Stormrazor buff on those ADCs recently, so that's super exciting. And I feel like the team synergy is just really good, and it's really hard to ban against them or draft against them just because of the variety they have with a champion pool.
For sure. It's really hard to kind of like distill down just what makes RixGG so good. There are other teams, of course, in this group. Ryu, Team Queso put a lot of focus on their jungler. So what's your thoughts about Team Queso's chances coming into this group?
I think Team Queso's chances are obviously always going to be good. When you have Anderson and Echo in your team, you will always have a chance to win. These two players are fantastic. They are stable, they're consistent, and they are flashy even if they want to be. Especially Anderson has been maybe the best player in Europe last year. And if he can pull up the same performances this year as he did in Origin Series, I think Team Queso is a team you can never underestimate.
So, Carmelite, next question to you. Of course, NASR is in that group with them as well. What are your thoughts on NASR, the Turkish representative?
I was expecting you to ask me. Okay, so the thing with NASR, I know they're kind of unknown because we haven't casted them before, but let me tell you, I think the playstyle differs quite a little bit from the teams that we've been seeing, because instead of like really strong early and all in, they bring the best in the mid game. There's also to be noted that they formed this super Turkish roster, as in the current Dragon laner, so sorry. Cool effects. He played with Sangal Esports. Then Sangal Esports lost versus Paula in the last chance qualifier to come here. So what did they do? They brought him to the team, so they got best of the best, and I'm expecting them to win.
That is always funny when it's just like, okay, we played against you, we kind of want to take you, like, see how that plays out. And the live environment, we've heard a couple of the players talking about it, how different it is. And I think we saw in our first game, formulation looked very secure in the way that they played. I want to see whether RixGG can emulate that from years gone by, and whether Team Queso can do the same. I said it already, and I feel like it might be a little bit harsh, but I think NASR have an uphill battle ahead of them. RixGG is their first opponent. Is there an area that you see for NASR that maybe you can get an advantage against RixGG in this series?
It's hard to say if they can get an advantage, but I definitely can see that they have a good top side. Like, they have Sneaky in the Baron lane and Ragnar and Swest. Those are really amazing players, and I think maybe they might be able to bully random, get him, just keep diving him, snowball from there, and then try to just get the map going and get some priority going and rotation wise. So that's going to be interesting, and I definitely have to say that, like you already said, with people coming here for the first time in the LAN event, we have C7 first time, and obviously NASR. Some of them have some offline experience like Barbane, so I think he can like do a really good shot calling job at an offline event. But obviously for Team Queso as well, there are some players that don't have that much experience, like Joey. He's really young coming into here. So let's see how those players are gonna handle being nervous, having anxiety, etc. in the live stage.
Well, it's time to see how the players handle it, because it is time for our first two teams from Group A to take to the stage for their first games of the WREC Finals. Both teams looking a little bit subdued. There's not as much hype as Unicorns of Love had coming into game one, but I think that that's a fair point now looking at group stage, because you have to get top 2 in this group in order to advance to the playoffs. And every single team in this group, even though we've got some favorites, are going to want to avoid Game Lord, which you have to assume they'll take spot 1 out of Group B. So, Ryu, for RixGG, are there any areas that you think that they need to be extra careful of in this group? Is there any place for RixGG that it could go wrong?
I think obviously RixGG is one of the most consistent teams going into the tournament, but if there's one particular area where I think RixGG has still something to work on, is the synergy between the jungle and the rest of the team. And this group, with both NASR and Team Queso, their star players are actually the junglers in Swest and Androset. So I think if there's any chance for RixGG to actually throw this group away, is it because if they cannot compete with the jungle synergy that both Team Queso and NASR actually has? So even though RixGG probably has some of the best players individually in this group, the jungle matchup requires so much synergy, and both NASR is the winners of the Turkish region, and Rosette, one of the best players in the region from Team Queso. I think that's the only point where RixGG really has to be careful.
And I see, Carmeline, you're nodding along with that one. And you know, we know that NASR have some fortitude. They bounced back in their series. In that finals, they were 2-0 down. What are your thoughts on NASR's chances now in game one? Where do they win?
Well, again, I think that really dangerous team just because of the comeback capacity they've got. Like, that is very difficult to get for a team, and when you're facing them, you don't want to give them the slightest margin to recover from that. I have to say the bot lane for me, the Varen lane, it's the Dragon lane, you guys. Oh my god.
You're playing red side. You're swapped up to top side. It's all good. Don't worry. Dragon lane, you think is an area for NASR that they can play around?
Absolutely. We've talked about Ban and his experience in LANs. We've talked about cool effects. And if Sangal almost beat Parla. Why can't NASR beat, RixGG? It's like,
I mean, stranger things have happened. RixGG have dropped games that they shouldn't have in the past, and I'm sorry, RixGG fans. I know that's always a hard point for us to bring up. DB, you're a top lane specialist. Random coming into the European stage. We thought that he was going to be the best. One small point on how you think Random's going to handle this group.
I think he's gonna do a pretty good job. I mean, obviously he's considered one of the best Baron laners, and he has a deep champion pool. So, I mean, in the end, it's still offline, so anything can happen. But I think when it comes down to the matchups, it's obviously Random against Sneaky and Random against Acolyte, and those two Baron laners are also amazing. So. It can go either way, and obviously it's not a 1 versus 1 game, it's a 5 versus 5 games, and then you have the jungler, mid laner, and even the support rotating around, maybe trying to gank you, and sometimes you just have to play for the team, maybe go for a more team fight orientated pick and just call it like weak side.
Yep.
So you just have to play it safe and not on those typical hyper carry champions. But I think Sneaky loves to go on those hyper carry champions, and I really want to see how Random is going to match that, and if he's going to match hyper carry against hyper carry, or if he's just going to go for a weak side.
Nearly time to find out. We've got a couple more things before the players are in game. One of them is to check in with Hell's Devil for his key points of this first series of Group A.
Thank you very much, Stress. Yeah, and let's get into the key points. And the first key point, I have to say it, RixGG is the heavy favorite. You can talk about whatever you want, however you want. RixGG is still the heavy favorite. They are perhaps the best team in Europe, and they're playing up against NASR, so they're definitely the favorite. But I have a thing to say about them, though. C7, who's a bit of a newer player. He has been playing with RixGG for a few months already now, but we see them struggle a little bit, to play together. SC7 is an incredible solo queue player, so we know the potential is there, but are they going to be able to show it as team play? And then the next thing that I want to talk about is Random against Sneaky, the Baron lane matchup. These two are both absolute gods at the Baron lane, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these two are going to be playing with each other. So that is it for the key points. Back to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Hells. Thank you very much for your key points. And touching on the Baron lane, that's where we ended our last segment. I think we're going to come back to it again. Ryu, Hullbreaker, we saw a lot in our first series. We're expecting to see it a lot. That changes everything about top lane.
Top lane used to be a role where you just you pick Fiora, Camille, you would get your lead and then pressure the map on from that. With Hullbreaker now, you actually want to stay in the side lane. You want to stay out there and push the advantages by buffing up those minions and killing those turrets quickly. So I think Hullbreaker obviously changes not only the way you play the game, but also the champions you're going to pick, because Hullbreaker is not a great item on a lot of champions, and there's actually a few champions that struggle against Hullbreaker champions. So I'm a big fan of tanks in the top lane. Malphite, Gragas, those are cool, but it's really hard for those champions to kill the minions that are buffed up from a Hullbreaker champion.
We didn't see it in our first series. Saw a lot in North America. Shen, DB. Where do you think Shen fits into the meta?
I was actually going to talk about that champ pick as well, because we just talked about some tank champions that can't really use Hullbreaker too well, but especially in North America, Shen is becoming a hot pick. Like, he is pretty solid in the lane. He's matching against a lot of matchups, and on top of that, you can even use Hullbreaker if you need to match against another Baron laner that is also building Hullbreaker. Just like if you wanna lane against a champion that has Hullbreaker, you also need to get it. Otherwise, it's very hard for you to push against that wave. Since Hullbreaker is so strong, it's buffing the resistance of yourself and the minions. So matching it up, and then on top of that, Shen has the ultimate. He can push against the Baron laner and still join those team fights. So I think Shen is going to become a hot pick, and let's see what they're going to do.
I think so too. I think it's one of those ones we're going to see come throughout the day. Carmeline, we haven't talked a whole lot about mid lane. We've seen Snitch's champion Ocean. Any picks that you're looking forward to seeing from today's series?
I mean, if it were for me, we'd have picks like, I know, super out of meta picks. But coming from RixGG, I think we can expect plenty of assassins. I think that quite fits into the way they like to play. For NASR, though, it might differ a little bit. I don't want to rebuild anything just yet. I want them to do it themselves, but that's what I'm going to say. I'm my mouth is shut.
So we might have some secret strats coming. I won't ask you to divulge them. I won't ask you to delve through the meta. But I mean, I think that's one of the strongest points for RixGG is like, Snitch is hard to ban out. He's hard to play against. He's hard to cause any error in game, and I think it's such a strength for RixGG that he just is so good. We've seen him easily handle other mid laners like Ruiz from Gamelord. I think we've really run through a lot of things. The only thing really we haven't touched on is the support. So Ryu, you know I'm coming to you about a support question. Clue, I think he's looked superb on Thresh, he's looked superb on a couple of champions, but is that another potential weakness for RixGG?
I think weakness and strength is you can sometimes play towards your strengths, you can play towards your weaknesses. I think if you're about to see more AD carries in the bot lane, I think Clue might actually struggle. Clue has actually shown, compared to his counterparts, that he's not able to be as lane dominant as those other supports in the region are, especially Heste and Shaw, as we've seen earlier. But when it comes to mages in the bot lane, where you want to leave them alone and you want to go out and roam, that is Clue's strength. So I think if Clue gets to pick exactly Thresh, as you said, even Rakan, and he's going to leave the mages in the bot lane, he's going to be fine. He's going to be actually one of the good players on the team. But are we going to see 80 carries and 2v2 matches in the bot lane? I think RixGG can be exposed.
I mean, we saw Doom play some 80 carries a whole bunch. Carmeline, like we saw those pentakills come through, like Doom on 80 carries and Doom on mages. Any thoughts from you there on that talking point?
Yeah, absolutely. It also depends a lot on what they're going to be facing. If there's something to say about Doom, is that he's very flexible and adaptable when it comes to, you know, like, play this, play that. But, I mean, given the current state of the itemization that Trinity Force are getting, has it getting buffed or nerfed? My mind has gone blank. Anyways, I can expect him to bring perhaps, could we have a Corki, please?
Those of you that have watched during the split know that I'm fed up of Corki. I'm fed up of seeing Corki as a caster mage. I'm also fed up of not being in game so far. So I'm just going to say, let's go to Hell's Devil for an interview before we get into game number 1.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stress. And we got the coach from NASR Esports right here for the interview. And the first thing that I want to ask you is, how are you feeling matching up against RixGG already?
Well, this opponent is very comfortable for us to play. So when we saw Shadow about this tournament, it was like, oh, nice. It's very good for us.
All right, so they're feeling good. And I want to say, how are you feeling playing in a stage right now, right? Like the players are not sitting at home. They're actually sitting right here next to each other. Do you feel the pressure, you as a coach?
Well, me as a coach, no. It's not a first tournament for me as a LAN stage. We also have one experienced player like Babani. He was already been in LAN stages before, but other 4 players, it's first time for them, but they're not feeling any pressure on themselves because I did my best to make them to feel comfortable.
Yeah, and that's exactly your job as a coach. And, I hate to ask this to you because you're the coach, you love all of your players, but could you pick one of us that we have to have our eyes on from your players?
I think it's Swiss, of course, and WREC. These 2 players is just watch.
Just watch, he says. So enough about the interview. Let's go to watching it. So back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Hells, and welcome everyone for this game, NASR versus RixGG. I'm Noah, and I'm gonna be your play-by-play for this game that I'm super excited to cast. And I'm joined by amazing Stuart. Stuart, how are you?
First game casting the finals. I've casted the WREC before, but it's so nice to be here casting RixGG as well, one of the strongest teams in Europe. NASR as well, the first seed from Turkey. What an exciting game to cast first off.
It's an incredible, exciting game because RixGG is like the super team, they won everything but Gamelord so far in the WREC, and there are a lot of expectations on top of them. But NASR is first seed of Turkey, so I expect a lot of battling here.
There's going to be a lot of fights. NASR love to play aggressive. They love to try and get them early, aggressive plays. Try and play around the kind of top side of the map that the analyst desk kind of fit on before. Sneaky, Swest, and Rekna. I feel like it's going to be difficult against, Random, who's one of the best barrel laners in Europe right now. But SE7, a new jungler that's come in at the start of the year, didn't have the best of starts. But now it's going to be interesting to see how he does first time in a LAN environment with the super team.
That's the key, because they were discussing all along how a LAN event may affect your performance when it comes to the game, because it's so different from playing from home. I have to say so. Let's see. They were also talking about it in the interview, like. Some of them have several experience in the LAN, but do you think that really is this gonna affect that bad to RixGG?
RixGG do have some experience as well. Most of them were at the Origin series last year as well. Random was actually on Game Lord before. SE7, I feel like it's only him that is his first time at LAN, so they do have a little bit of comfort as well. But here we go, Noah. Picks and bans.
Here we go, definitely for this RixGG versus NASR. A lot in the game, a lot in game. We are really wanting to see some of these guys bringing some new picks, because we were discussing about the new meta, the new patch, and I really don't know if I have to use the Unicorns Love as the Malaysian games as you know, as a guide for the new patch, because yeah, there was some spicy stuff, but I don't know if we are gonna have again NASR Yumi in the bot lane.
That NASR Yumi, the NASR Baron lane afterwards as well. I'm not too sure if we're going to see the same picks in this one. I think Unicorns of Love have definitely a different meta from these two teams as well. But there's probably a few bans that you're going to expect. Camille, Karma, all these strong picks at the moment.
Sure.
Karma, as Ryu said on the desk, is not really going to be picked banned at all. It's not going to be picked at all because it's going to be banned all the time.
Yeah, definitely. The first one is going to be the Jax. I expect the Karma ban that you were talking about, since it's extremely broken right now. Enjoy it, by the way. Been there, done that. Here comes the Karma. But the fact is that RixGG is going to have a really, really, really hard job when it comes to the mid lane, because Ragnar loves to play some crazy stuff.
He does have, I mean, both mid laners, I think, have a really, really wide champion pool, so it's really hard for the other team to try and figure out what they're going to play, because obviously this is the first time that we've seen them on this new patch, first time that we've seen them in about a month now as well, so they've probably been preparing behind the scenes, they've probably been trying to figure out what's strong at the moment in the current meta. So we saw Unicorns Love and Formulation already pick out these crazy picks, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same in this game as well.
There are a lot of question marks when a new patch comes and you go into the tournament. We have the Grace on the way. We have the cat, the broken as hell, kitty cat. Yeah, I have to agree on the house with that. You don't know how much I hate Jimmy. It's just insane what this champ did.
Broken as hells.
Broken as hells, he said
it. It's not surprised at all. The Aurelia, interesting enough, is the first pick. We saw Don in the first series, I think definitely a Aurelia expert as well, but I think that Aurelia is also very, very flexible, can be played in the mid lane, the Baron lane, but also we've seen it in other regions in the jungle as well, more particularly in like China, SEA as well. But then you have the disengage of the Gragas straight away as well. As soon as you see Aurelia, the champion that wants to dive in, you have Gragas straight away with the body slam, the crowd control, and then you have the Rakan as well.
Yeah, those two champions are enough to see to stop Aurelia. And you were talking about flexibility, and there is Gragas, the king of flexibility when it comes to Wild Rift. I like this. You're responding to this Rakan and huge engage with long distance champions. You have the Jace that is also a quite flexible pick.
Definitely, yeah. Again, Jace can be played in all three roles, and I think even though it's quite difficult on the blue side because you don't have that flexibility on the last pick as well, but wow, Varus as well. We've trying to, I think the main topic of this entire tournament in the first day is, are we going to see AP carries in the bot lane, or are we going to see AD carries? And at the moment, we see Caitlyn, we've seen Tristana, and we're going to see Varus. And wow.
This is spicy, and this is the eldest combo. You know, you have the Gragas, you have the Rakan to make these Yasuo go all engaging into the back lane. And I love this because Varus is a non-mobile champion, so you can punish it so easily right now.
I'm actually interested to see if this is going to be a mid lane Yasuo, or it could also go into Baron lane as well. We don't really see it too much, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it in the mid lane.
Can we spicy it up a bit? It may be dual lane.
Don't really see it too much, to be fair, in the duo lane. Maybe, you know, a classic Yasuo Rakan duo lane. It definitely is possible. I don't think it's as strong as like the mid lane and the Baron lane. But as you mentioned already, you already have the knockups already. You have the Gragas Ultima, you have the Rakan knockup as well, which are two really, really easy abilities that you can use, and then Yasuo can follow that up afterwards as well. You can see the other bans as well coming in. You got Olaf and Braum being taken away, so taking that invulnerability, really, kind of from the Olaf, and also the disengage as well from the Braum, and Shen as well.
I know what you're going to play. I was gonna say that actually the Yasuo, in my opinion, fits way more into this niche champion pool and plays aggressive playstyle. And you have now on top of that, you have the Shen. How protected is this Yasuo? You have free engage because you have several knockups, and you have also gonna be the Saint United from Shen to protect you.
That's the great thing as well. You can see the composition that RixGG are trying to build out now. The engage from the Rakan, the Shen to follow up as well on top of the Yasuo. But again, it's kind of this flexibility for RixGG as well. So NASR are going to reveal their entire team comp, and then RixGG can kind of say to themselves, it's like, okay, we know what we're going to be against, and is that a set support? It looked like it will be.
I think I have to assume that there's going to be a set spot, because otherwise it's going to be the spot of Renekton. I mean, I will love it. I'm going to say that I love spicy drafts. But now RixGG is going to have the last pick. Let's see where that Gragas actually goes. Let's see where that Yasuo actually goes, because there are a lot of questions. Max, and you have the Kai'Sa. I'm loving this. I'm going to say it. I love this composition. Full dive onto the back lane. I feel really sorry for Cool this game, because been there, done that. I play bot lane. I mean, it's gonna be hard for you.
I also play AD carry as well, and Kai'Sa is one of my favorite champions. The best part about Kai'Sa as well is that it's on Doom. We've seen Doom already. He's popped off on Jinx before, 2 pentakills in the WREC as well, and now in the first game of the finals for RixGG, he picks up Kai'Sa. He always says, I want to play AD carries. I don't want to play these AP mages anymore. You give him someone like Kai'Sa in the first game of the finals as well. Like you said, it's all about dive. RixGG just want to engage. Kai'Sa can jump on top of them as well with the ultimate. You got the Yasuo going in, the Rakan going in. But even on the other side as well, you still have Irelia that wants to go in. Renekton wants to go in. So I'm expecting full-on team fights throughout this entire game.
But as we were discussing earlier, Irelia, you have the tools to stop the Irelia. Like, Irelia has a huge challenge in front of her if she wants to be, you know, to have the capability to impact on the team fight or the map. These are the drafts that we have with this very first game of NASR. First of Turkey versus RixGG, the super team from Europe that fall short actually in the qualifier. The fall to GameLord. It's their nemesis. They always lose to GameLord.
It always feels like at the final hurdle with RixGG, they always dominate throughout the entire tournament, and then when it comes to the finals, in Origin Series it happened, in the WREC main event it happened as well, but now we're going to have to see how they're going to do against that Turkish first team.
In the WREC so far, their run has been 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, oh, GameLord, and a third map versus Team Kesa, but every other thing has been 2-0 for RixGG. So let's see how this match versus NASR goes for them. NASR, we were talking about extremely aggressive in the middle lane, and we are watching right now Ragna telling things just so clearly to Snitch, this is my lane, you're gonna stay up here. But Bonnie and Cool as well pushing in the bot lane.
And I think the main thing to actually notice is that Irelia has actually gone into the jungle. Now, this is a really, like I said, this is a really popular pick in China, in SEA as well. And especially now because of the scuttle changes that were spoken about at the start of the day, it allows Irelia to potentially do this full jungle clear. You can get level 5 straight away, and then you can try and look for them early game ganks as well. And even on top of that as well, Irelia is just a really strong champion. Blade of the Ruin King, Divine Sunderer as well. You can see actually, some junglers now start the golems at the bottom. So you start the golems, you go onto the red buff, you know, going onto the raptors as well, and that allows you to go onto the top side of the map, clear the full jungle, and that gives you level 5 straight away.
Yeah, definitely. And you want that level 5 as fast as possible. RixGG is gonna be online after those level 5, after those ultimates pop in. You will have the Saint United, you will have Yasuo's ultimate as well. You're gonna have the killer instinct in Kai'Sa, and that's what you need. You need the ultimate. So NASR, they need the extra aggressiveness in the early game if they want to stop this RixGG combo.
They need to find some way, because, like you mentioned, it's going to be really hard. And it looks like
Sneaky trading. Okay, he goes all forward. Ragnar joining as well here in the top side of the map. But it's okay. No first blood, no blood in the river. Everyone is safe, but Sneaky, it's pushing far.
Interesting enough, I spoke about the full jungle clear, but it was actually both teams trying to contest for that first Scuttle Crab skill still, even after the nerfs that we saw. Even after the nerfs, it seems like teams just want that early vision that the Scuttle Crab they get. So SE7, they tried to play aggressive, but at the moment, Sneaky is destroying Random in this Baron lane. Like, Random is also so low, and here comes Swest as well.
Yes, they want to dive you. They want to dive you, my friend. Random dashes backwards, respecting the possibility of that dive to happen. And SE7 suddenly goes into the river. No Scotty Craft for you. Not in the top lane, not in the bottom side of the river. And Swest and Sneaky forces Random to back. Right now, the map is NASR's.
I mean, it's not only Baron lane right now. Varus does really, really well against Kai'Sa in the early game. You can see that Call FX is pushing in against Doom. Even the mid lane as well. Recognize on the Jace can do really well against Snitch. So SE7 is really struggling to try and get basically a foothold on the entire map at the moment, try and get control of the entire map, which allows NASR to move around, play aggressive. They tried to go for that top lane, died. Swest did flash. It was a bit of an interesting flash, I must say. But all clues going in.
You need to be aware of those of his breaker came from Babane on SE7. He's here in the bot lane. Bot is lamb with flash as well. Exhausted, explosive cast on the first blood goes all straight forward to RixGG. Exhausted usage, but it was worth it in the end.
If there's one a person that you want the first kill on, it's Doom. You have to give it over to Doom on the Kai'Sa straight away. You've got him ahead now, and like I said, even though they play aggressive lanes, SE7 body slam flash as well. And
okay, what is going on here? You're not respecting the Yasuo under the turret, and here came the knockup. Snitch actually sniffed it out. There was someone else around in there because he didn't launch himself with the ultimate. Look now, Regna, as Clue is in here, and now after RixGG has the ultimate up, now this combo is extremely dangerous.
This is where things get really interesting as well. The Dragon's going to be up in 5 seconds. It is going to be an Infernal Drake as well. And I feel like if you're on Rix, like you said, because you have the level 5s, you want to fight. You know, Random you want to be in a side lane. You want to try and get that first tower of the game to get that little bit of gold for your team. But if you're SE7, if you're Snitch, if you're Doom and Clue, you just want to fight. You have level 5s. You have the knockouts for the Yasuo. You can allow Doom to jump onto the back line as well. It seems like for now, both teams actually not contesting any objectives at all, which is surprising to see, to be honest with you. Sometimes you see teams trade, like they try and go for Rift Herald if they want first tower, or they try and go for the Dragon, but both teams are just playing a little bit passive.
Yeah, definitely, because you would love to get to see them in the neutral tactics right now, but you have to respect if you are RixGG as well, NASR's combo and their capability to poke you down, chunk you down step by step. I feel like if NASR has the patience, they can deal with RixGG's all hard engage.
I think they have to try and bait out some of the abilities from Rix first, because if you jump in, if you're NASR, it's so hard to actually jump in and get a kill because Rix have so much crowd control. And as you can see, it is eventually just going to be a trade in objectives. So NASR focusing on the Infernal Dragon, getting the extra bonus stats that you get as well, which will scale well into that mid and late game. And then Rix are going to be the ones that take the Rift Herald. So now it'll be interesting to see what they do with this Rift Herald, because most of the time when you get Rift Herald, you want to try and get that first tower of the game, but it's actually NASR the ones that are playing aggressive towards this dual lane tower.
Definitely. Random having a bad timing here. Clue is around.
It's a Rift Herald.
The dual lane as well. And yeah, it's a Rift Herald all straightforward into the mid lane. You want those juicy turrets, and Clue has not enough wave clear to deal with that.
Beautiful. It was beautiful play by Rix. They saw multiple members of NASR down in the dual lane. So like, okay, we have the Rift Herald. We want to break that mid lane tower. And mid lane tower is so important in this game. It just opens up the map so much for Rix. It allows them to play a little bit more aggressive in the mid lane, but it means also that NASR have to play a little bit more passive now in the mid lane, because if they get caught, if they get engaged on by Clue, by SE7, you don't have a tower to fall back on now. You have to go all the way back to the tier 2 tower, which sometimes is just a little bit too far ahead.
You know, that's the beautiful and the cruel thing about Wild Rift. You can't make mistakes because you don't have the time to make amends with them. You know, here comes the knockup with Clue. Yes, and it's going on to Sneaky. The dashes backwards down the turret. Now this looks bad for poor Renekton that is going to take these both minions as well, but the game is like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like right now, what is going on in the dual lane? Shen gets the kill, and that's 2-0 for Rix. We missed the whole action in there, but Rix, step by step, is taking the leading gold.
And now they're just going to go all the way down to the dual lane tower as well. They're going to try and get the dual lane tower. NASR are trying to respond as well, but look, Clue and Snitch are here. It just seems like at the moment, Rix are always at the right place at the right time as well. They took the tower, but we're going to take a look at this replay down in the dual lane. It was just Random going in with the Torn. Beautiful flash by SE7 on top of the body slam as well. And as we mentioned, all the crowd control as well that RixGG have. It's just hard for us champion like Jace to try and escape all of that.
But I feel like Hesitant is going all into the flash body slam whenever the cooldown is up, and I applaud it, actually. You have to play the Gragas that way. Random didn't even need to commit his flash in order to take the kill, for the sake to take that kill. And you have to respect the Shen in that kind of situation because you were too close to the turret, and it could be, well, it could be your doom, and it was in the end, no pun intended in here. But now it's 0 for RixGG. They are taking the lead in terms of gold, and as we were mentioning, this combo is extremely dangerous, and if you want to fight this with your poke, with your range, you really need to play really carefully your combo, and you need to have the advantage. Otherwise, you're gonna fall short.
I totally agree with you, and I feel like RixGG do have the lead at the moment. You know, about 3,000 gold lead now for RixGG. They got 2 kills, they got 2 towers, they lost that Infernal Dragon, but to be honest, you'll take that for your RixGG. You know, if you lose the Dragon, we'll take a look at all the items here now. You got Doom at the moment building the Storm Razor and another BF sword. He's going to go into that. He already has the Q upgrade, so he has the extra extra spikes, I guess they're called, extra caffeine rain spikes. And then he's now going to go into the third ability upgrade. Multiple items built across the board now. Snitch in the mid lane as well with the Storm Razor. Supports haven't brought any items yet. No really anything completed. But to be honest, across the board, no surprises really in terms of items.
Yeah, definitely. And Doom, you know, it's like he's absolutely ready to jump into the back lane with that stasis also in the inventory. I mean, I know what you want to do, and NASR knows as well. They are respecting so hard what RixGG can do to their composition, and it's not being that kind of a bloody game, even though both teams are trying.
They're trying to fight, but I think, like I said before, RixGG are just playing the map so well. They're just in the right place at the right time. They're just taking towers. They're taking games slowly. They're now going to go towards this Cloud Dragon. And if you're NASR, you don't feel confident to fight right now, especially with the ultimates up as well. It's so difficult. They're going to try and trade the Rift Herald instead. Interesting enough as well, SE7 on this Gragas, he doesn't have boots at all. He just wants full damage. Luden's Echo and Death Cap completed already, but Random in the top lane.
Yeah, Random maybe in trouble. There is Red, not even taking the fruits, the honey fruits. We're not on the time. Knockup from Clue using everything. Doom joining the final. Vagon sets coming here. Clue about to die.
Clue's alive.
Survives in the end. Random as well going for the taunt, and it's killing.
They all live.
He's an absolute monster. Kai'Sa takes another kill in RixGG. Jesus Christ, we knew they were going to play like this, but it's amazing.
How did everyone survive on RixGG? Their Clue was on probably 1 HP. Yeah, 10 HP, something like that. You can see Snitch emote in as well. Nice little wave emote. But we're going to see this solo kill actually by Random. Does really well. Uses the shield as well to make sure that he can't take any damage. And he's just auto-attacking. He's getting the passive shield. Even flashes to auto-attack as well. The Honey Fruit was so close. But you see the rest of NASR are there. But Clue does so well to engage. It means that the rest of the team have to go towards Clue. But he survives. Even after the suplex as well. He flashes. He jumps away and he's on a slither bit of health, and that means that allows Random to come back in with the ultimate, SE7 as well with the damage, and NASR have not even been able to pick up a single kill. And we talk about how NASR need to try and get ahead, because when it comes to team fights, RixGG are just so much better. They have the combo, they have the knockups for the Yasuo. They allow Doom to go into the backline as well. Doom 2-0-2, and actually Random as well 3-0-2 on a tank. We're used to seeing Randoms on, you know, sometimes he can play weak side, but we're used to seeing Randoms, and we probably prefer to see Randoms on champions like Fiora, Camille, but it just shows that he can play champions like Shen as well at the same time.
Like, you know, people tend to forget that Shen deals a lot of damage in this stage of the game. It's like so unfair. And here goes Clue with the quickness and everything. Regna may be on trouble. Goes Stasis, goes Golden. Explosive Cask on the other side of the team fight. And they are staying. Kill spree for Kai'Sa has taken the 3rd kill in a row. Rapids for RixGG. They are all rolling over NASR. They are taking everything. No turrets. No member of NASR is just in the middle of RixGG's idea of team fight.
Pure domination now for RixGG. Yeah, it's just RixGG are just completely taken over this entire game. You're looking at about a 7,000-8,000 gold lead now, another tower. It's now 4 towers to 1. Reckon are trying to push in the Baron lane, but to be honest, you're trying to get these little tiny things that you can get, but you're losing the entire game. You're losing team fight after team fight after team fight. And I feel like it's going to be so hard now for NASR to try and get back into this game because they've fallen so far behind already.
It's so difficult. And right now, how are you going to deal with the Kai'Sa Stormbracer, Guardian Angel? She has the Sassus as well. And Clue, when he sees the opportunity, he's going to go all in for the knockup and makes like the whole team engage. And it all started with the solo kill. With random solo killing and sneaking in the top side. We're waiting here because Swiss goes with the Vanguard's edge, but there's a turret in there. Here comes the Stand United plus a cut on the other side of the team fight. Clue is still alive, and they are tearing apart NASR once again. Virus takes a kill. Right now, they may having an opportunity, but what is wrong with Shen? He's supposed to be a tank. Why is he killing everyone? Is he the main carry? Double knockup from the side of Clue. Here comes the Fist Breaker as well. Right now, what's wrong with Shen? What is this champion? He tanks, he kills, he does everything. Doom going all in with the killer instinct, tearing apart, as I said. NASR Esports, it feels just so unfair. He's supposed to be a tank. Why is he killing everyone?
That actually started off really, really well for NASR. I mean, they went a little bit too deep in the end. You can see Doom's in the mid lane, Random's up in the Baron lane, but that's when Shen's ultimate comes in handy. Use it, gets us into the fight, and he just jumps straight onto cool effects. And if you're Varus, how are you supposed to deal with a Shen that's jumping on top of you? Exactly, you can't. And like you said, even though Shen is a tank, Shen can still do a lot of damage, but Clue as well with these knockups after knockups on Rakan. We saw it in the previous game as well, trust and formulation on this Rakan. We're now seeing it from Clue as well, and it's just complete cleanup from RixGG. Again, a double kill again over to Shen.
Yeah,
I feel like Shen's like 5-0 now or something.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to get to see it, honestly. Because, okay, Shen, he protects, he also attacks, definitely. But Clue is the man enabling every single play. NASR is, sneaking they don't want to mess with RixGG. Right now, the goal diff is just so high. I mean, this has been the last nail in the coffin of NASR Esports, at least for this game.
Look at Clue. Love it. The passion, the players are here. You can see everything about these players and how much it means to them as well.
I feel the bloodthirst.
Clue's just like, fight. Just go in. It's like, I'm Rakan. I can just do whatever I want. I can dash in. I can dash out as well. Interesting enough, something...
7-0.
7-0-5.
7-0-5.
Even Clue as well. 0-0-10.
He's been in 12 out of 14 kills of his team. Like absolute monster, this Shen. As I said, he protects with the Stand United. He also carries the team fight away, even though Snitch... was supposed to maybe not to be the main carry because you have Kai'Sa so fed, but also be important. But it's like Snitch fell. Okay, no problem. Shen and Kai'Sa are gonna do the dirty job. And as Random and as I said, wearing here because Babani may be in trouble as well. The Guardian Rain takes the kill. The Vanguard says just defensively Stasis that came. And I really Ace maybe in problems. Varus takes this one kill and Doom goes off for the die with the Stand United the Stasis to stop the Guardian Rain. But here comes the town. He dives, he kills, he protects, he saves his teammates. He pays your taxes. Also. I don't know what's wrong with Shen.
This could honestly be the game for RixGG.
No, it's going to be the game.
30-second death timers, and they're just going to finish the game right now.
Definitely, this is the last mission. This is going to be 1-0 for RixGG. Going all forward, all about the time, all about the team. For they're taking the game like this, and I really don't know what to expect for the second one.
RixGG just showing why they are so dominant. If you feel like, I feel like Snitch this game didn't really have the best of performance, but when you have players like Random, like Doom as well, it just shows that sometimes it's going to be Random that's going to be the carry, sometimes it's going to be Doom, sometimes it's going to be Snitch as well, and that just shows how much talent this roster has as well. And I don't think Snitch got a single kill that game, I don't think. And
he was 0-1-3 or something like that.
So even though we thought that, it was all about around the Yasuo and all about enabling the Yasuo, but in the end it was Doom that was jumping in with the ultimate, trying to jump onto the back line. And it was just the front line of Clue and Random with the knockups, with all the crowd control as well. And it was so difficult for NASR to do anything because we talked about all the crowd control that RixGG had as well. If NASR tries to go in, it's so hard to even pick someone off as well because RixGG can just easily counter-engage after that as well. They have the Stand United, as you said as well, with the Shen, who went Hullbreaker in the end. So not only is he split pushing, he can also just join the fight whenever he wants to as well.
Literally one-man army, split pushing, saving people, killing enemies, diving. Shen did everything in this game, but Rakan had a magnificent game as well. And I have to say that was a tremendous game from the side of RixGG. Guys, I think we deserve a break after this ultra exciting game. So guys, don't be far away, because we're gonna be back in a few minutes.
Born into wealth, in perfect health. He was taught he was the best, superior to the rest. I guess he had it made. Had talent in spades, all the right DNA. He'd go all the way, but he got bad grades and didn't fit in. Ganged up on in school, they played him for a fool. He didn't play by their rules. This life he didn't need it. To his core he wasn't racist, elitist or conceited. Found the door and kicked it open, full of fear but unbroken. He left all he'd known and forged ahead all alone. He stayed in his zone, and as a man fully grown, he began a new family of his own. Though you can't control what you're handed, your life you can command it like you planned it. Hey you, are you a loser? You've gotta fight to be a winner. They'll hold you down, call you a loser. Rise above them as a winner. Sell your soul and you're a loser. Stay true to you and be a winner. Let them know that you're no loser. You have it in you, you're a winner. It was tough growing up. Hunger pangs, flat pockets, danger on the block when she walked to the market. As a girl up against an unforgiving world, she was brilliant in loving. At school they told her she was nothing, said her life was a mess, that she'd never progress. Best to face the truth of underprivileged youth, but this young lady wasn't having it. Brass ring, she was grabbing it. Her pride that despised her inner strength, they were mad at it. She had an intellect that demanded respect, barriers that could erect her dreams she'd protect. She stayed in full effect, she'd never once disconnect until she'd made it. Her shine, they'd never faded.
Welcome back to the WREC Finals, where we have just finished game number 1 between RixGG and NASR. We set the stage for RixGG as one of the favorites coming into the tournament, and I don't think they disappointed at all. That was exactly what we expected coming from RixGG, and I think answered a couple of questions that we had posed. Random, we know he's a good top laner, but that Shen appeared just as predicted.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we talked beforehand how Shen could be potentially a really strong pick, and Random just doing random things. The man, I feel like previously he didn't live up to his name, but this time he showed up why people call him one of the best Baron laners in this game right now. Picking Shen, and Shen is usually a pick that is considered a teamfight based champion, not a necessarily hyper carry champion, and somehow Random managing to get legendary on Shen. And I think draft-wise, it was just very good picked, like Shen into that Renekton because Shen is so good against champions that can't punish him too much and don't build Sandra. And Renekton is a champion that doesn't build Sandra. So therefore you will struggle in the matchup. And we've seen that Random is getting solo kills and still joining those teamfights, making the difference, making plays happen. And if you guys have been paying attention, he also has the highest teamfight participation as a Baron laner, so that's really impressive that he can win his lane and still join all of those teamfights and make so many plays happen. Being in the backline, like I think he killed the Varus, then 3 people were chasing him, and he still managed to survive. Or even in the river fight in the top lane, he killed someone 1 versus 1, then his teammates were fighting, he was super low, he still joins the teamfight with his ultimate, shielding Doom and then taunting them. And obviously the second ability is so important in the teamfights because any incoming damage within the shield is just getting blocked, so that's huge.
Yeah, such a versatile champion for somebody who's already good at joining team fights and already has that presence on the map. A lot of the ability for Rix's team fights and setup that allows Random to kind of get in the mix is the way that objective control takes place under Rix. And Ryu, I know this is something you're passionate about coming out of that game. What was your takeaway from game 1 here against NASR?
My takeaway is that we thought Rix was going to be a calm and collected and a really calculated team, and they definitely showed that. They were really early to put up the vision around the Herald at the first spawn at 4 minutes. They had good vision, they knew exactly where NASR was, and they took the trade happily, trading that Infernal Dragon for the Herald. Right now, as the game works right now, Herald and generally like stats and items gives a lot more value than the Infernal and the Ocean Dragon, which means that taking that trade for Rix is like, it's safe for them. They put up the vision, they knew exactly where NASR was, they took a Herald free, and they win that trade because Herald is just a better objective. Then 4 minutes later, Cloud Dragon spawned, and Cloud Dragon is a little bit different because it gives movement speed, which allows you to make plays around the map and be the first ones to the objectives. And again, they just traded back. We put up the vision, we knew where NASR was, and we took the Drake even without having to fight for it. So in this game, we just saw Rix how to actually prepare for an objective you want to fight for, and then take it freely without even having to struggle for it. I mean, they got all the objectives they wanted to get, and after they got those, I mean, they just snowballed the game, as we can see at like the 7-8 minute point, you know, the game just was over.
Yeah, the game just started really heavily going towards Rix's way. I mean, it was the expectation coming in. Like, we've seen Rix look dominant in the last chance qualifier. Turning our attention over to NASR, I know that the bot lane coming into the first game, we were talking about, would it be an area where, depending on the champions, Karma lane, what did you think of NASR's performance in a difficult game 1 from that bottom lane?
I mean, of course, the first thing you have to face here is Rix, and you're like, okay, as you guys said, really calm, collected team that knows exactly when to do things, can make mistakes, but you need to be ready to capitalize on them. And I felt like NASR were playing a little bit this style. They didn't really take into account what they could be facing, and that ultimately led them to having the strongest lane for themselves, the Dragon lane, kind of like put in. They had Varus, they had the set, and you will think, okay, this Varus, Teams of Corruption, you know, get this, get set, but with Kai'Sa in front of you, that complicates things a lot, especially with the mobility. So, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, a bit of a flashback in meta, perhaps, with that Varus coming up for NASR's side. For Rix, a lot of dominance through top, a lot of dominance through bottom. Let's take a look at the play of the game from game number 1. It was a convincing game overall, but I mean, Ryu, when we look at how this bottom lane play went, is there any way to play this out better if you're Rix? Because it already went well.
I mean, that was a fantastic play. They genuinely just show how good of as a team they are, but also how good individuals they are. I mean, this team is just... it's just better, I guess. It's just better team. I mean, they played amazingly. Even though I said before the game that I think Rix's bot lane could struggle potentially in a 2v2 matchup. I mean, even against the Varus, who's a really strong laner, Kai'Sa with the short range still came out of the game, I mean, out of the lane very well.
Long range from Doom. It wasn't that long. He was only right in the jungle there. But, you know, flies into the fight, DB. That was the fight you were talking about with Random, kiting all the way back, showing his real strength on that Shen. Random, we kind of underrated him a little bit after the regular season. We were all doing our tier lists and that kind of thing. And I was like, well, you know, Random, he was S-rank and all that, but Lonely Kid looked good. I think he looked fantastic in this first game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he just proved that he is one of the best Baron laners, and I just feel like RixGG in general just looked so much better than NASR right now. Just in terms of draft, playstyle, like rotation-wise, they were always a step ahead.
Right.
Like they got the mid turret, then they got the bot turret, and every single team, but they also played it better. And I feel like just from the draft was also better just because they had the Yasuo pick, who is amazing against poking champions like Jace and Varus. And on top of that, you have so many enablers for the Yasuo ultimate.
Yeah.
You have the Rakan Yasuo combo, you have the Gragas ultimate that can also enable the Yasuo ultimate. And those engages are really, really good when you're playing against a poking team composition, and they just abuse that fact.
So much of that draft comes from the coach, and I want to hear from one of them. Hells is standing by with RixGG's coach.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stress. And indeed, we have Mozilla here, who is the head coach of RixGG Gaming, and that was a very easy win, man. I want to ask you, how are you feeling after that first game?
I mean, obviously, we were all pretty nervous coming into this. It's still, it's just the second or first LAN that the players have ever played. And I think this first game gave us a lot of confidence. It really made us feel elated. And it was one of the cleanest games I've ever seen in Wild Rift ever, honestly. So it's...
Well, that's great to hear, because my next question was, like, you know your team, you see them play in scrims. You just said this was one of the cleanest games. Would you say they're already up to the level that they play at home as well already, seeing after this first game?
Yeah, I mean, we put a lot of time practicing with the new phones, especially just to get used to it, just to feel like we're not actually on the stage, right? Because this couch setup also kind of reminds you of home. Yeah. So I feel like the players are just in their comfort zone right now.
Okay, that is great to hear. So I want to ask you, who do you think in this entire tournament is the strongest team that you have to face?
I think the easy answer is just GameDot, right? They beat us in the WRC finals leading up to this, and they were the only team with Team Queso, obviously, that took games away from us. So they're probably the strongest opponent.
All right, so that is it for the interview. I wish you the best of luck to the next game, and we'll hopefully speak to each other later. Back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Hells. And one question that we had earlier, is gonna be the LAN that match of a deal for the teams? For RixGG, it's not a big deal.
RixGG just came into it all guns blazing. They just were like, okay, we're just going to play exactly how we play at home. And that's exactly what they did as well. That was the great thing about RixGG, is like, I feel like this is still the RixGG that we've seen from home, which, as you said, sometimes you get like the little bit of nerves. You get a little bit of like, can we still perform the same as well? But as Mozilla just said, because it's like the stage and everything as well, because it being on the couch as well, and because the players are so close, it is very comfy. I'm sure it is comfy. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it's really comfy.
It's really comfy. You should.
After
the day.
Maybe I'll play a few games after.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You absolutely should, but play 5v5 combos, because so far it's paying off. We were also wondering what this new meta would bring. So far it brought AD carries.
It definitely, AD carries I think is definitely starting to come back into the meta as well, which of me as a Dura laner, I love playing AD carries. I hate to see the mages, the Corkis, the Orianas and everything like that. I don't want to see anything of like that. I want to see Doom. I want to see him play Jinx this game. We saw what he can do on Jinx before. We saw the pentakills on Jinx before. I want to see it from Doom. I want to see a live finals pentakill by Doom.
You know, I have kind of a toxic relationship with the AD carries. Like, I play them all the time because I've been playing them for so long, but I hate them. I hate them because they are so fragile. You have to be so mechanically gifted to, you know, to take the best out of them. But we saw the best out of that Kai'Sa in that very last game. What I do want is from NASR to bring something fresh and something new to deal with RixGG, because we've seen RixGG willing to go to dive. So for me, NASR's former composition was kind of fragile.
I know, I can totally agree. And as I said before these games, really, I said that NASR are normally this aggressive team. We saw them in the, the Turkish league. I saw a few of the games, especially against Parler as well. They were playing aggressive, but now you're against a much stronger opponent in RixGG as well. So they're giving them a little bit of respect. I don't want them to give them respect. I want NASR to go in, because we've seen that.
Respect.
No, exactly, no respect at all. I want NASR to go in. I want NASR to engage, but it seems like it was really, really difficult for them this first time around. You can see the bans are very different from NASR now compared to the first game. It's Irelia and Gragas now, whereas in the first game it was Jax and Yumi, but still RixGG on the same side. Red side bans, I think these are going to be standard throughout the whole, throughout the whole tournament, really, to be fair. The whole finals, Karma, Camille, and also Jace. They just banned 2 champions that they played the last game.
So what do you want to play in this
got something
game? That's
planned.
the question. What do you want to play? That what's the power pick you want to first pick that is going to be so pivotal, so crucial to ban away the real on the A's you were, you were playing the last game. And from RixGG, it's all the time the same.
Yep.
Send away, Camille taking off the world as well, Karma of course, and that's going to be the Graves, not the first time being first picked.
I was going to say, it's probably going to either be the Graves or the Jax, because they're the 2 champions that are left open. It is going to be the Graves. So now, when you're on the side of, on the side of RixGG, do you pick up that Rakan again? I think Clue had a really, really good game on the Rakan in the last game. Was great during team fights, knockups as well. Now, do you pick Jax yourself now, or do you maybe potentially give it over to NASR? Even though, Graves can be played in multiple roles. We even seen Graves played mid lane as well. But okay, interesting enough, they go for the Varus. But sometimes we were talking about this a little bit before, whereas sometimes when you pick Varus, sometimes you're kind of stuck in terms of like these AD compositions.
Yes.
Which RixGG might fall into the same trap, but you still have champions like Diana open that's really strong in the mid lane. Orianna can still be played in the mid lane as well as that kind of source of AP damage. Obviously, Gragas is completely off the table now. Lee Sin now, a more aggressive jungler for Swest. Wants to play aggressive in the early game, wants to make plays, and that's what I want to see NASR do in this second game. So it potentially means that Graves is either going to go to the Baron lane or even to the mid lane on Reckoner as well. As I said, we saw Snitch play in the mid lane a few times as well. So now I think for RixGG, I think they might have to potentially go for like an AP champion, maybe like Diana or something like that, because I feel like if they don't, then NASR are just going to ban out AP champions. They might be forced to play, bruisers again for RixGG, and they might kind of fall into a trap.
Absolutely. It's gonna be the Morgana here for RixGG, probably for Snitch, if I'm not mistaken, or even for SE7.
SE7 has played it in the WREC. It is definitely one of his, I would say, unique picks, because he's really the only one that has played Morgana jungle in the entire WREC. So most likely, as you said, will probably go over to SE7. He can go into the mid lane. You see it sometimes in the Dura lane as well. Joey on Team Queso has been playing it a few times over on the Team Queso, the Morgana. But as you said, potentially in the jungle, but can go over to the mid lane as well. So, and you're going to take the Akali off the board as well. Now, RixGG are kind of like, okay, we have our AP damage source. Now, you need an AP damage source, but we're going to take away Akali and potentially another AP carry. That means that NASR now might fall into this trap that we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely sure. Like, they literally bite the bait. They thought they were launching onto the fish, but suddenly they are the ones trapped in here. Here goes the Corki, goodbye. No magic damage in there, but you still have options, do you? Like, you have the mages that you can place into the dragon lane. Like, you have several champions such as Diana you were talking about that could, like, potentially pop off NASR. You have the Braum, which I like a lot, because Braum gives you a lot. You had to. I mean, you're logging because Shen has been taken away, but after that game, of course you're gonna ban away the Shen. My question is, you should have done earlier.
I mean, it was risky. It was definitely very, very risky. But
it wasn't worth
it. They took the risk, and it did pay off. That means they can ban it in the second ban phase. But like you said, after that last game from Random, a complete pop-off performance from Random. And now we're going to be seeing what...
Okay!
I know this. Singed mid lane for Snitch. I think he's pulled it out, and this is huge. We've seen it a little bit in China, a lot in China actually, for Wild Rift in the in terms of everything. Singed mid lane. He's actually been playing it on his stream as well a few times. For people who don't know at home, Snitch does do a lot of streams on Twitch as well, and he's been playing this Singed mid lane. Now, the great thing about Singed mid lane is that there's a lot of mid lane champions that can't really do anything against Singed. Like, Singed can just wave clear, he could just roam around whenever he wants to as well, and he's just such an annoying tank because you don't want to chase Singed, but at the same time, you still want to try and kill him.
Yeah, that's, base, Wild Rift basis, league basics. Don't chase the Singed. You don't chase them. I know you are excited. You're excited because we have a Shaya. We have a Shaya, and I think this is quite an interesting thing when it comes to deal with RixGG composition, because you have several champions that want to go towards the Shaya, and Shaya is just so good dealing with these kind of picks.
Xayah, if for people who don't know, is my main champion. I love Xayah. I really wanted to see it in competitive, and we get to see it in competitive. Xayah is really good at just peeling back and has great self-peel for herself. So if the champions are going to engage, like Shen wants to go, Singe wants to go in, Rakan wants to go in, even Renekton wants to go in as well. You can use the ultimate from Xayah, you can use the feathers to root as well, and also because of the Storm Razor buffs as well, Infinity Edge is also really, really strong on Xayah at the moment. I really, really like this dual lane because you also have to disengage from Braum as well. So even when Xayah might get in a difficult situation, you still have Braum that can jump on top of her, stack the passive as well, and I love this draft. I love it.
Even though it is full AD.
It is full AD.
It is full AD. It is full AD, and we are forgetting that Singe is tankier than it seems.
So NASR has done the same thing twice now. They've compositioned around, they built a composition around this full AD comps. Now, the problem is that a champion like Renekton, Death's Dance, really, really strong at the moment. Singed will probably build like Rylai's, Liandry's because of the slows and obviously the damage over time. But then after that, he can just build tank items. He can just go for lots of armor. And NASR are just going to find it so hard to try and break through this front line of RixGG. And then you got Varus in the back line with the poke. You got SE7 as well that are going to be on the Morgana, jumping in onto the team fights. But look, we got Singed, potentially mid lane. I'm pretty 100% sure it's going to be mid lane. If it's not Snick in mid lane now, I'm going to look like an absolute fool. But it's completely fine.
I trust this. Sneak is going to play it for you. Like you say, it's going to be for Sneak. It's going to be for Sneak, even though they didn't swap the champs yet. This is quite a hard game. This is quite a hard game for NASR. They have to swim or die actually, because this first game was a real rough statement from the side of RixGG.
It was a very, very strong statement for RixGG, and NASR is the one now, because if they lose this, they go 0-1 in the groups, which makes it really, really difficult actually for NASR, because then they have to play Team Queso next as well.
Yes.
Which Team Queso is not an easy task as well, and we were coming into this finals, and I think this is a group that everyone was talking about. RixGG, Team Queso, two of the strongest teams in Europe. NASR, the strongest team in Turkey as well. So even though NASR are kind of the underdogs, we still know that they can perform really, really well, and they can cause an upset, but RixGG have just come out and they've just performed so well in that first game. So be interesting to see what they do in this second game with this very, very interesting draft that we haven't really seen a lot. We got a Singed. I think it's probably the first time we've seen Singed in the WREC. Like I said, we see it in other regions. I think it's the first time we see it in the WREC. And it blows my
I feel
mind.
like these teams are getting ready for icons, aren't they? Like, going into the meta from all the regions, bringing the best from every side of the globe. It feels like they want to be there. They really, really, really want to be there, but it's not gonna be an easy task. Not even for RixGG, even though they are highly favorites for this best of 3. Guys, we're fixing our plan, and we will be with the game in no time at all. No time at all. We're gonna jump onto the Rift ASAP. And what do you think about, even though it is full AD, the composition that NASR brought once again? But I do think they have winning conditions.
Definitely, I think they have to play around this Lee Sin in the early game. They have to try and play aggressive with the Lee Sin. If you play passive like you did in the last game with a Lee Sin just probably going to fall off over time as well. You got Xayah that can be really, really strong as well. If you can play around the Xayah, try and get her ahead against the Varus, which is not going to be an easy task, but if you can get Xayah ahead, she has that self-pull, she has the Braum by her side as well. So I really feel like that's where NASR can try and get the advantage in that jungle, because against the Morgana as well, Morgana's not really this aggressive jungler. Morgana just wants to wave clear. She just wants to farm up as much as possible, get a few items, and then just go into team fights. But if you're NASR, if you've got that Lee Sin, you need to say, okay, we need to play aggressive against this Morgana. We need to try and get advantages, which they did really in the first game as well. They played aggressive against SE7 in the Gragas. They got the double Scuttle Crab and everything. But then after that, I feel like they just couldn't really play aggressive at all. They had that one fight in the bot lane, in the Dragon lane, before. But then it just kind of fell apart for them, and it feels like they just couldn't really do that much.
I really think that last game they had a real narrow window of opportunity pre-5, and when level 5 arrived for RixGG, it was like so difficult. You needed the advantage right before. And this game, maybe you can play it like slower. Not very slower, because otherwise it may be happening the same. But you have the resources, as you were saying. You have the Saya, and you have stuff. You have not only the Lee Sin to slingshot your early game, you have Brown as well that works so good with the passive. You're gonna be, giving away so much CC for everyone.
I think NASR have to try and use that Brom and use that Lee Sin to roam around the map. We normally see supports that roam a lot, even though, the changes to Scuttle Crab and everything as well. You saw Clue in the previous game roaming a lot with Random, with SE7 as well, and on the side of NASR as well, they need to try and just get this early game advantage, because I feel like the later this game goes, the harder it's going to get for NASR, because Singe is just going to be super annoying. Renekton's going to get a little bit of armor and be really, really tanky as well. You have the Varus poking the back line, you have Morgana as well. To be honest, both teams have a lot of threats as well. It's probably going to be Graves in the mid lane as well, and then potentially Riven up in the Baron lane, which is something, a little bit different. Potentially it could be swapped around as well, could be Riven mid, Graves Baron lane as well, but we have seen it been playing mid lane as well, so hopefully, LAN environment, we always get, some problems left, right and center. But hopefully we should be able to get in the second game, because I just want to see the Singed. We've seen it.
You're excited about the Singe, you're excited about the Saya. You are so invested into the second game.
I'm just excited about Wild Rift. It's just Wild Rift. I'm excited about it. It's really awesome, being here, being able to cast with yourself and, meet everyone as well. I think that's the exciting thing as well. You got to meet everyone.
Are you having a nice time? Stuart,
Oh,
you're
100%.
coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm really
it's my first LAN event as well. First LAN casting as well, and it's just one of the moments, like you just meet everyone because you've been talking online for so long, and yeah, it's really, really nice.
People that is watching this, please, nice words for Stuart. Is having such nice.
I'm sure Twitch chat is trolling me right now, probably spamming me like faces. It happens all the time. I have like emotes with my faces and everything. There's probably loads of people as well watching, probably trolling me and saying,
I mean, it's Twitch
weird
chat.
things. True, it's Twitch.
You have to love them.
Can't expect too much from Twitch chat.
Definitely. But as I said, we're gonna be on the Rift in really, really, really short time. We can keep discussing around the draft and the winning conditions, the fact that you have the Lee Sin and the Brown to slingshot. And I want to say that it's going to be quite exciting to watch RixGG playing in a very different style of composition in this game. The first game, they were all about the dive. Now, it's not that hardcore. Let's put it that way. You can't go that hardcore with this stuff.
I think that's a great thing about RixGG is just their flexibility. They play so many different champions, and as I mentioned before, they've got so many different carries they can go towards. They can play towards Snitch in the mid lane, they can play towards Doom in the dual lane, they can play towards Random in the Baron lane as well. Definitely. They have so many superstars talents on them, and even though sometimes they do fall at that last hurdle, which hopefully they don't do the same this time as well, because I think they want to go to Icons, but they want to try and win the whole thing. I think them and Game Lord are the two favourites of this entire tournament right now. They're both in separate groups as well, so potentially we could see them in the grand final as well, which I think would be I'm probably thinking a little bit too far ahead because they're still only on day number 1, but
well, it's 3 days from now. It's not that far.
Oh yeah, it's not that far.
It's not that far, but you could feel it in the interview that RixGG has some unfinished business with Game Lord, and they are willing to close them.
I think that the perfect way to kind of end this kind of fairy tale story of Wild Rift in Europe is the Game Lord against RixGG, because RixGG is one of them teams that everyone has said, they've dominated so many tournaments, they've been first place so many times, but sometimes they just fall at that last hurdle, whether it's, the finals or Origin Series. Last year, they lost to Team Queso, they couldn't go to the Horizon Cup, WREC main event as well, but then they came into the last chance qualifier, and they swept through the whole of the last chance qualifier, pretty much with ease, to be fair. No disrespect to the other teams, but I think RixGG was just a level above everyone else in the last chance qualifier, whereas Game Lord, even though we're going to see them tomorrow, we haven't seen them for a long, long time.
A long time.
Since the WREC finals, which is about 2 months, probably. So
in the game, in the Unicorns of Love game, one of the main question marks was like, we didn't get to see that much from Unicorns of Love. But it's the same with Game Lord, actually. Stuart, I wanted to ask you something. It's a hard question.
Ooh.
You know. I come from League. You know that.
Yep.
People know that. I come from League. From League of Legends PC Edition. And you know that's harder for us in Europe. Are we gonna win Icons? Stuart, tell me the truth. Are we gonna win Icons?
Win Icons, no.
What?
But BNA, yes.
Okay, I like that. I like that. It's quite similar, yeah. Definitely. We don't get to win both, but BNA, that's another question, guys. We're gonna jump into the draft phase. No, into the draft phase. They are doing draft phase right now, so we're gonna jump into the review in no time at all. You broke my heart with that statement, I have to say.
To be honest,
I had hopes. I had hopes.
I think it's the same with PC League of Legends, kind of the same as Wild Rift. Is that like China, Korea,
It's
just
like crazy.
It's levels above everyone else. It's absolutely crazy how good they are, and I think some of these teams as well actually take some of these picks and these compositions as well. Like the Singed Mid, for example. Singed Mid has been played a lot in China over the last couple of days. With I think they're currently on the quarterfinals as well, so they're trying to find their teams for Icons, which is going to be happening in a couple of months' time. So I feel like they maybe got the Singed Mid from China. I feel like most teams they kind of get things from other regions, especially from like China and Korea, because they're levels above, and they probably watch the games as well, and they see what they focus on, they see what their play styles are and everything as well. And even though you could say it's like copying in the end, it's not really copying, because they bring their own unique.
Bring this copying.
Yeah.
Bring this copying.
It's like Europe still bring their own unique playstyle, and we still have a lot of talent as well in Europe. Obviously, we're going to have 3 teams, Icons as well, 1 in the group stage, 2 in the play-ins as well, which is going to be really, really exciting stuff as well, because we're going to be seeing teams from all over the world at Icons.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. It's like the best when you gather all those teams all around the world, and you have this clash of styles in international tournament. It's always so exciting, because while the tournament is going, you get to see the meta evolving in the meta of all those environments, you know, and it's really, really, really exciting. So I mean, China is always been a really creative region when it comes to this style to play, not also League of Legends, but also Wild Rift. And it's once again with this Singed, but you know, it's not only to get the peak going on the Rift. You need to know how to play it exactly.
And it looks like
we're going into the Rift.
We're finally getting into game.
It's been a while. Okay. And NASR is going also forward into RixGG's jungle, placing some wards, getting some vision, you know, tracking S7. Where is gonna be, you know, that Morgana cleaning camps.
Yep, Morgana's just going to be cleaning camps, and you can already see the aggressive plays from Lee Sin already. Lee Sin's already in the other side of the map. They realize that Morgana is not in the red side of the map, so they're just going to completely do it. And yeah, we do potentially have it. We have a lane swap by NASR as well. Now, we saw this a lot last year, really, for Wild Rifts, but they made a really, really big change to the Baron Lane Towers. Oh, Sneaky's in a little bit of trouble, but he's okay. But yeah, there was a bit of a change to Baron Lane Towers, which let them kind of take reduced damage depending on how many people are nearby, which actually makes lane swaps not really popular at all in Wild Rift. So it's very interesting to see how they use this and how they try and get this advantage, because they're probably going to try and shut down random as much as possible and put Riven, Sneaky on the weak side, but then it allows Lee Sin to play aggressive, and they might even potentially be looking for a dive as well, because they have a wave that's not really that big. They've only got 2 caster minions, but they have another wave coming in as well, so they're probably going to try and stack this wave and potentially dive random.
But Random is respecting so much. I mean, it was really, really well planned away. Oh, I'm watching Lee Sin jumping all forward. S7, take the cross mat. It's like, okay, you have taken my entire top side of the jungle. I'm taking this red away. Sneaky is aware, but what can he do? He can nothing.
He can't do anything at all, and this kind of what happens in a lane swap. You kind of just get this split map where NASR is going to be on the Baron side of the map now, and then RixGG are going to be on the Dura lane side of the map. But the thing is on the Dura lane side of the map, it's actually easier to take the tower on the Dura lane side of the map than it is for the Baron lane. So even though this is a lane swap made by NASR, it can work as a disadvantage as well. We even saw Unicorns Love in the previous series as well. Even though they tried to make a lane swap, they tried to make aggressive plays, and I feel like that's what happens normally at LAN. They try and do things different to kind of put the enemy team out of their comfort zone, and they have to rethink of different ways of how to play the game.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what they're doing. They're trying to make RixGG think about the decisions more. And you can see there's a lot of roams going around, but
Sinch, maybe in trouble. The Sinch, the Sonic player has been amazing. SC7 there. Roaming as well. Force flash away from Swest. Morgana, what can you do, my friend? It's been amazing. The aggressive play came from NASR, but it's Swest the one that had to trade his flash. And Ramon goes in, Clue. Okay, dashes forward with Battlelands. Babane forced the third ability, another knockup, and it's being hard for NASR, I have to say, to siege this turret in the top lane.
Yeah, it's really, really hard for them, especially because Clue's now roamed up as well, so giving Random a little bit of a helping hand in the Baron lane. You can see SE7 is now going up there as well. But yeah, Snitch on Singed in the mid lane. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Snitch, Singed.
Yes.
Snitched. A little bit of a tongue twister. Has Exhaust in the mid lane, so he's a bit worried about the dives from maybe potentially Graves and Riven. Has Fleet Footwork, interestingly enough, as well, so it's going to give him a little bit of sustain during the laning phase.
Yes.
Allows him to just clear the waves as much as possible. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, Snitch roam around the map as well, which is kind of why Singed mid is quite popular at the moment in other regions. But I mean, looking at the rest of the map at the moment, nothing too crazy happening. There was a little bit of aggression from NASR, and again, like sometimes even this early on in the game, we see NASR make these crazy aggressive plays, maybe potentially against weaker teams, but they just give RixGG that respect because they know how strong RixGG can be, coming in as one of the favorites of the tournament.
And it was the same in the first game. It was like the calm before the storm. We get several minutes of nothing happened because the teams were moving, like playing them up and stuff, and trying to be aggressive over the other team, but no blood was spilled in the rift so early. And suddenly a team pulls the trigger and everything goes crazy. Now we have the first breaking here in the rift in the dual lane side. You have the Herald in the battle lane side. And I want to ask you, do you think that the lane swap paid off on NASR in the end? Because Shaya is quite ahead.
Yeah, Zyra is quite ahead. I mean, they do have a gold lead as well, but to be honest, that gold lead is not really too much. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. I think it's going to be crucial to see what actually happens. Interesting enough, Reckoner's gone for Hullbreaker as the first item. Little icon next to Graves means he has Hullbreaker. That means he's going to try and split push as much as possible. The problem with Zyra is that she does kind of struggle, even though she is ahead. She does struggle against Varus because Varus has that extra range, has the better wave clear as well. Just keep on poking with the piercing arrows. You see that Baron lane tower as well is really, really low because they decided to make that lane swap. And Singe doesn't have Snitch, doesn't have a lot of mana, but NASR might try and come in. Yeah.
Into this Drake on his wave is respectable. Those was want to go in, but the Drake is for RixGG as they take the first blood out of the game as well. And it's again Doom once again first with Kaiser, now with Varus randomly be in trouble in the parlay side as Rekna is pushing all under the turret. Snitch, I mean, he's playing Singed.
Yep.
Even if he dies,
he's doing Singe things, just walking around. Yeah, poison, doesn't
wandering
really do
around.
too much. Yeah, exactly. Not that very skilled. Press the first ability a few times to maybe poison a little bit, maybe do a little bit of flips as well. But RixGG have taken both objectives. This is really, really bad for NASR. So it was actually NASR that were trying to go for the steal in the end on the Dragon. Didn't get it in the end for Swest, and Doom nearly got caught out by Babunya on the Brom.
Yes.
Brom tried to flash in as well, but because Doom still had the flash, he just flashed away, used the Chain of Corruption, and allowed Clue to re-engage as well, easily being able to pick up the first blood. And then they don't have any objectives at all now. So even though NASR went for the lane swap, they tried to go for that first tower of the game. And that Baron lane tower is really, really low. Maybe potentially they could look to try and get that as a first tower. Because to be honest, in Wild Rift, when you lose both objectives, you lose a lot of momentum.
I mean, like in the first game, NASR was able to, play the cross map, but this one is not looking the same way. Here comes Clue. Clue is everywhere. The knockout comes on Ragnar, maybe in trouble. Slice and dice, and the kill goes for the Crocodile. 2-0 for RixGG.
Clue again with the roams. He did it in the first game with Random. He's doing it again with Random, even though now he's on more of a carry champion. And now that he's going to get kills, if he goes the same score as what he did last game on the Renekton as well, and SE7's here as well. And there you go. And NASR they just can't really do anything. And even though they decided to do the lane swap, even though they got that Baron lane tower so low.
The kick comes from Swest exhaust on this. Riven is needs to be very in trouble, and yeah, he ended up dying. But NASR
Oh.
Sweat of that kill, I have to say. Knock up in the mid lane. Once again, Chains of Corruption, and RixGG never slows down. This time is SC7 taking the kill over Regna. They summon the Rift Herald, is gonna smash into the mid lane, and this is a hell of a play for RixGG.
They're going to go in again?
Yeah, definitely. Babani may be in trouble once again, but no blood spilled this time. We have a little bit of a pause.
Yeah, we do have a
It's
little bit
okay.
of a pause. It was.
But this Herald was so worth.
It was so worth it. Again, mid lane tower has gone down as well. But Rix just play the map so well. It's crazy. They go up to the Baron lane, they get a pick, and as soon as they get the pick, as soon as they get that little bit of an advantage, they go in. You can see this is actually something that happened off screen, is that Random did get a little bit caught, so it is a kill over to Cool Effects, had to use a flash for it as well. But Random was just a distraction the whole time because they got mid lane tower, and now they're going to look for dual lane tower.
Look at that binding. Snitch went all straight forward with the black shield to take the juicy kill, but it was well protected as well. Here comes the kick, a beautiful one by Lee Sin. Goes golden with the Stasis. The dark binding not that good this time, but Lee Sin goes down, and this time he sees once again Chains of Corruption. The furthest time comes a bit lane, but worth in the end. So Shaya ends up saving himself, not only himself, but also his teammates. But another worth play for RixGG.
Swesh tried to go in there, but as soon as Swesh went in, Clue, ultimate straight away, quickness straight away. And Swesh can't do anything at all. As when the quickness is up for Rakan, you can just use that. As soon as Lee Sin jumps in, he had to use the stasis, and then he's just completely dead. There's no way of escaping after that. And I feel like Clue has been playing so well this series. You know, the first game roaming around with Rakan, this game as well roaming around the Rakan, and just the reaction times as well for Clue. Knowing when Swesh is going to go in, using the ultimate, using the knockups as well. Has been such a great performance, and again, Rix have the goal lead as well. It's not as big as the previous game. 4 kills to 2. It's 2 towers to 2 as well, so NASR have come back a little bit in terms of towers as well. The Ocean Dragon is up, and we do have Rift Arrow up in 25 seconds as well. They're going to try and break this dual lane tower. They're not going to break it just yet. It's on 600 Alpha SE7.
Okay, he baited Doom's ultimating the Swiss with the highlights for the YouTube clip.
I feel like SE7 does this sometimes. Sometimes SE7 does play a little bit too aggressive, and it has been caught out before. We've seen before, especially in the WREC, the last chance qualifier as well. And kind of that series is all SE7 flashed in.
Because he goes aggressive in this time. Sneed's going forward, trying to get sneaky, and here comes the knock up and the quickness and everything.
Nice.
And he's still alive. Sneaky made it out alive. Further Storm and Blade Caller by the side of Shaya. Sneed still alive. On the other side of the teamfight, Ragnar may be in trouble. He ended up dying, and this is 3 kills in the end for RixGG. This is what happened the game before. They suddenly pulled the trigger, and it's just never slowed down.
Yeah, Rix was pushing in the mid lane, but it's actually NASR that tried to engage. You had the Brom ultimate, the Lee Sin kick as well from behind, but there was just no follow-up after that.
Corruption and now engage. This time under the turret, these guys respect nothing.
As soon as they get a little bit of opportunity, they see it.
You step a little bit forward.
Exactly.
Yes.
You step a little bit too far forward against Rix, and they will take everything. But this is Clue going in. Actually, the counter engage was not too bad. You know, Swiss with a 4-man kick in the backline, and Sneaky survived on backline. But look, there's just no follow-up. The Xayah can't do anything, and this is what is so annoying about Singed. Singed can just flip you, use the pool as well underneath. That means that you can't use flash, you can't use any jumps or anything like that.
You can even use ult.
Yeah, exactly. And that means that Xayah just can't do anything at all. You know, Xayah's one of these champions that needs to have a little bit of space, needs to auto-attack a few times to get the feathers out as well, but she's really struggling. Xayah is definitely very struggling in this game. Going for the Storm Razor, interesting enough, static shiv, second item. I personally don't like this as Xayah main myself. I like to go for more AD with Xayah. I'm bringing in my kind of thoughts of the Xayah build. You don't really need,
spice.
Yeah, you don't really need a lot of attack speed with Xayah because her second ability gives her attack speed anyway. You want that flat AD. I think Storm Razor plus Infinity Edge is such a good two-item combo. And Singed as well as
what is going on
the Rift Herald?
in the Dragon Lane? Here comes the dominance by the side of Random. There's the stress. There's this Ragnar. 1v2. And this Crocodile is so alive. Go Stasis, but you buy the bait in here. They've taken away the life of Lee Sin. 1v2 and Ragnar is about to die. And Random is willing to die. His life as he kills, he dies as he destroys. He did it the game before with Shen, and now it's 4-1-3 with this Renekton.
Random is here to play. This is the Random that we know. This is the Random that we love as well.
Flash forward, Babani forces the ultimate. He comes try to disengage Braum with his own ult, but it's not now. Babani still alive here. Chains of corruption, and this may be the end of the game. Exhausted is Riven trying to sweep the team feet away, but Sneaky about to die once again. Glued to 100 HP, about to be killed. This is everything. This is the ace. This is the game for RixGG.
Potentially not yet. They're not going to push it just yet, but
Like-
I think I agree with you anyway. I think it's pretty much the game. I don't want to cast
It's
a
gonna
curse.
be the last nail in the coffin, like a big nail.
I know Rix kind of hate me for this, for cast the curse in them all the time, but I think it's going to be really, really hard
I
for
did it
their
last week.
Vanessa. Oh, did you? Oh.
Oh yeah, I did it
That's
last
never a
week.
good thing as a caster,
Yeah.
is it?
I have to control my powers. I forget all the time. Sorry,
You forget
Rix.
how much power you have that you're just talking all the time and you can say
Yes.
things and you're just like, wait, that actually didn't happen. And now you feel really bad for it because then you're like, wow.
It's my fault. Like I did it with Caster all the time. Caster Jinx. We need to control our powers, but the fact is that it's really hard for Rix right now to throw this game away. Like they have so much gold advantage. They have Doom in a very well position. They have Random in such an incredible position, being also able to 1v2, 1v2, not even trading his flash away.
That was crazy. That 1 vs 2 is crazy. Like I said, Random's here to play. This is the Random that we know. He has, I think he has a Hull Breaker now as well. Rix has 6 towers. They have 2 dragons. They also have 14 kills as well. They basically have a 10,000 gold lead at 13 minutes into the game as well. And NASR trying to look for things, but again, for NASR, I feel like, you know, coming into the second game, because they don't have a lot of time to do much.
Incredible forward, and here comes the clear. That's so unfair. He flips it behind. He tries to be alive with the Unbreakable, but what can that shield do Braum? Versus,
that's Featherstorm.
Oh, the Featherstorm. Quite bold, I have to say. Random doing the job on the bottom side of the map, taking the turret, the inhibitor turret. Random about to die, slicing and dicing. In the end, he died.
But meanwhile,
I think this is a world play for RixGG.
yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, they're just going to do the Baron. Swest is here. They're probably going to try and steal it, but I don't think Swest can even get close to it. You can see the Rix are just, Rix are playing this Baron so well. They're waiting. They're just baiting out Swest, even the TPs, but they just take Baron.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sneaky wants some action in there, but the NASR went all straight for RixGG. Swest, you're not respecting right now. He tried to look for some picks on RixGG. Doom backing, Doom backing.
Oh no!
They stop the back, they force it. Doom's flash away, but he's with SS7 right now. It was not the best place to back, I have to say.
Not the best place. I mean, even with ban recall, sometimes you can get a little bit caught out there. Maybe that's something that people
You
can
got
learn
confident,
from.
overconfident.
Yeah. Definitely a little bit of overconfidence. But again, going back to my point about NASR, I think they don't really have a lot of time until they have to play their second game as well, and they have to win that game as well now. If they don't win that game, then they are out. They are completely out of the tournament, and that's got to feel hard for NASR. And we're going to see the replay again. Rix, Clue again with just the engages. I feel like he's always at the forefront of these engages. He's always the one that's going in. And afterwards as well, Sneak was able to pick up a kill. Actually, the flip from Snitch actually made Doom miss the chain of corruption as well. So it's a bit of an interesting interaction. But you can see they're just cleaning up the entire fights as well, as we saw Random a little bit there as well. And this is the Rix that we know. This is how strong Rix can be. And we were talking about, you know, sometimes, you know, the LAN environment and everything as well. And they might even try and end the game right now. They're going to just try and push the inhibitor towers.
Definitely, because the Baron lane turret is the only one alive. Babani, you try to survive. Knockups from Cliff from everywhere. The quickness as well. And they have taken down the Braum. 4B5 potentially, but the focus is the Nexus. And RixGG is going to place the 2-0 in the series.
Beautiful play by Rix. Beautiful, beautiful. Like I said, we spoke about LAN. We didn't know coming into this that Rix were going to feel comfortable. But we heard from Mozilla a little bit beforehand as well. That was you know, game number 1. That was the cleanest game that he's seen. This was also a very, very clean game. They didn't really make a lot of mistakes at all. They gave away a few kills, but they didn't give away any objectives at all. They got a lot of towers, and it's just so well played. They can play the map so well. They can play the team fight so well. Random with the 1 versus 2 as well on Renekton. Beautiful, beautiful play overall by Rix.
Nah, definitely. Random have a tremendous series. First with the Shen, then with the Renekton, being, you know, the one army we were talking about in the first game, and now RixGG. It's like, you know, we mentioned before, They went all on the WREC, all to 0. Then Sony game lost. And yeah, the third game came versus Team Guess, but all about that are 2-0s for these guys.
It's all going to be 2-0s, but next up, they got Team Queso. Which
They got Team Queso, yeah, that's the vengeance.
A very exciting game and a very exciting series as well. But again, strong performance by RixGG, really good by RixGG. I'm really excited to see them for the rest of this tournament.
Definitely. We were like overwhelmed by the action in this series. And I want to know what the analyst desk thinks. Analyst desk, what do you think about this series so far?
They didn't switch it.
We have thoughts and opinions, and they start with the draft. Unsurprisingly, Singed in the middle lane. We talked about it way in our prep, like off camera. You didn't hear about it, so we can talk about it like we predicted it. But Singed in the middle lane, DB, talk to me about it because we've seen Snitch play on stream. We've seen it a little bit before.
Singed in the mid lane actually becoming pretty popular in ranked, in solo queue already, but also in China it's becoming a hot pick where it's highly contested, and almost every single time Singed is picked just because he is so good against champions that don't have mobility, or I mean especially if they have mobility he can counter them, and champions that are melee he can just reach them very easily and just pull them back. But mainly as an enabler with the second ability, because once someone is getting targeted with the second ability, they can't use any dashing abilities or the flash, so it's very easy for him to set up the team fight, set up the pickoff, and the team composition of RixGG is amazing at that, because they have the Morgana bind, they have the Varus ultimate, they have Renekton stun, so much crowd control going on for RixGG, and I feel like they just completely outdrafted they just completely outdrafted the enemy team just because they just couldn't fight any team fight because they have such a superior team fight composition. So every time they just get caught, or they are melee champions trying to reach the backline, trying to reach Varus, but it's not being... They can't do it because there's just too much crowd control going on.
Tough for NASR to actually break through that Singed
exactly.
and posing too much of a threat. We saw it happen a couple of times, like the fights NASR were kind of holding on a little bit, but I think one thing we touched on coming into this series was SE7 out of the jungle to change things around a little bit. We were talking a little bit about SE7 and how his synergy would be. I think the first few weeks of the regular split looked a little shaky for SE7, and then at times he overextended. But Ryu, your thoughts on SE7 now? 2 games on LAN with RixGG. What's your takeaways?
I mean, 7 was amazing. I think 7 really showed us and proved us wrong that this guy has insane synergy with the team. We even saw in the second game as well where Clue just left Doom from the early game. He knew that 7 was against Lee Sin early game as Morgana, and he helped 7 get through that early game, get those clears in, and then just control the game. 7 had insane amounts of bindings. He just landed good targets where Singed could just easily follow up with his W. Rakan would jump in and they would just kill targets after target. NASR had a really nice composition. They could easily have a lot of ability, get around the map, do whatever they want. But 7 and Varus from Doom, they picked these people off really easily with their long-range CC counter control. And then Singed and Clue, that, I mean, amazing synergy and just pulling it up and making sure that they're not going to get out alive.
Yeah, it was about as solid from RixGG as we were expecting. When it comes to, like, they get lane swapped on, they manage to hold through the early game. Really convincing performance from RixGG. Of course, this is a group stage, so Carmeline, when we turn our attention to NASR, like, what are your thoughts from this first series? We always said it was going to be a tough series for them to take.
I didn't, but yeah.
Okay, fair. You didn't. You didn't.
I didn't say I voted for NASR. No one paid attention to me. You maybe should have. Maybe not. I will have lost anyway. But no, what I'm trying to say here for NASR, my setup was thinking the mid game is going to be better. The early game is kind of shaky, but that's kind of what they play like. They have a calm, quiet, composed way of playing. And then we come here, and I feel like one of the main things that have lost them is the drafting, but particularly if we are looking at the bot lane, the Dragon lane, we've got a Shaya, we've got a Braum. Braum is one of Baban's best picks, okay? It's a champion that he really loves. But I feel like the synergy between both him and Cool Effects hasn't really kicked in yet. And we can see it very clearly here, where Shaya Shaya's mobility doesn't keep up with Braum's kind of way of playing, which is more calm, you know, I protect you, I poke a little bit, then Glacial Fissure, and I just don't think it was synergizing properly, to be honest.
And as we just saw in the play of the game for game 1, you saw how even with Xayah, where she has her ultimate, she has the flash, Singe just goes mega adhesive, and Xayah goes, I guess I'm one bird stuck in the glue at that point. So, I mean, Xayah, I think we might see a couple more games of Xayah. I think we're probably going to see more Singed by the sounds of things. But an interesting first set of games. RixGG, we expected them to come in as the favorites. Their next opponents, I think, will give them a run for their money. This is one of the matchups that we've really highlighted throughout our European broadcast. Team Queso versus RixGG, a real clash of playstyles that we'll dig into a little bit later. For NASR, they will be back at the end of today's broadcast for a series against Team Queso. But for now, let's hear from a familiar face. We've heard from him a lot. He's one of my favorite players, and I know I'm one of his favorite people in the world. It's Snitch, who's standing by with Hellstep.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stress. We got Snitch here indeed. And the first thing I gotta say, man, congratulations. That was a very easy victory. So how are you feeling after that very easy 2-0 victory?
Honestly, a little relieved. I didn't want to feel nervous for this event because, I mean, it's the first days, you know, you don't want to be nervous straight away when it's not the super high-stakes games, but the format is very lethal. You know, you lose 2 best-of-3s and you go home. So it's very, very tense for that reason. We just put a lot of time into preparation, and I think everything we predicted NASR to do ended up working out, which is a bit surprising because we had little information on them, right? Because they come from a completely different group. But yeah, we just managed to... We thought we had a grasp on their weaknesses, and it seems like we did. So yeah, everything seemed to work out.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed to work out very well. So you're up against Team Queso next, who is a bit of a different team, right? Like, Team Queso is a very good team. We know that they can beat out the good teams as well. So how are you feeling matching up against Team Queso after this 2-0 victory? Will you do the same against them?
I mean, I think it's hard to call a 2-0 against Queso. I mean, even in the last chance qualifier, we beat them convincingly the first time, but they came back and put up a really good fight in the second series. So they definitely adapt to how we want to play, and I'm sure they've been watching these games as well. They have a lot more knowledge, you know, up to date than we do necessarily. So I think it's hard to just call it a raw 2-0. I definitely, obviously, think we could win against them. We've proved it in the past, and like I said, we've been doing a lot of preparation, and hopefully it comes to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, every time we interview RixGG, it's Rick Snitch. And every time it's an amazing interview, but I gotta ask you, are we ever gonna have a different player up here?
Well, I'm trying to get them up here. You know, we got Clue for the pregame stuff. That was pretty nice. I tried to get Doom up here, but, you know, we're working on it. I'm sure by the end of the event, we'll get at least some interviews with some players. That's all I can promise.
All right, man. Thank you very much. And I wish you the best of luck for the next game as well, as you'll have to prep for it. And yeah, that was it for the interview. Back to the analysts.
Thank you very much, Hells, and thank you, Snitch, once again for stepping in for an interview. You're right, we will get other RixGG players for an interview. They can't avoid us forever. So, we've got a few more things to tidy up on this series before we get into our second of Group A. First thing we've got to do is crown an MVP, and we were discussing a lot backstage. There were some discussions, does it go towards SE7? And I kind of put my foot down a little bit after game 1 and was just like, Random's going to do great. We were halfway through game 2 and then he pops off in game 2 as well. So our MVP for this series, Random having a fantastic performance. Shen in game 1, we kind of called it a little bit. DB, as a top lane, Baron lane main yourself, like Random, great performance on this first series.
Yeah, I definitely think Random did an amazing job playing both Shen and Renekton. Especially Shen, he did so much work considering that it's a pick that is not highly contested so far coming into